Hey guys, it's Mark from Ace Tutors, and in this video, I'm going to explain one sample z-test for proportions. I'm first going to go over what this type of hypothesis test is, when you would use it, and then I'll walk through the process with an example. This is just one video in my series explaining how to solve all the different types of hypothesis test problems, so don't forget to check out our other videos on the other types as you cover them in class. Okay, let's jump right in. If you haven't seen our video on hypothesis testing in general, I encourage you to take a look at that video first. In there, we discuss the overall idea of hypothesis tests and the 5-step process that you can follow for all types of hypothesis test problems, including these one sample z-tests. As a reminder, the goal of hypothesis testing is to make a certain conclusion about a large population by using data from a smaller sample. One sample z-tests are just one way to do that when you have a certain population and certain data. So when would you use a one sample z-test for proportions? Well, the answer to that is a lot more straightforward than some of the other types. You would use this type of hypothesis test whenever you have one single population you are pulling data from and your data is in the form of a proportion, as opposed to a mean or another measure. Now, to solve these types of problems, we're going to use the same process we follow for all hypothesis test problems, the 5 C's. We are first going to create our hypotheses for our particular problem. Then we will check certain necessary conditions are true in order to use this one sample z-test method. Next, we will calculate our test statistic and p-value, compare these to our critical value and alpha value, and finally conclude based on our findings. Okay, enough theoretical talk. Let's help solidify this concept with our first example. Let's say that a particular tutoring company called, Base Tutors, claims that 92% of their students start receiving better grades after starting tutoring sessions. A certain well-connected professor who understands the benefits of tutoring believes the true proportion of students whose grades improve is actually higher. She takes a simple random sample of 250 students tutored by Base Tutors and finds that 239 of their grades improved after meeting with a tutor. At a significance level of alpha equals 0.05, test the teacher's claim. Okay, first, following our 5 steps, we need to create our null and alternative hypotheses. As always, I like to start with our alternative hypothesis. Our alternative hypothesis, H sub A, is whatever we are testing about the population. And this will come in one of 3 forms. It's either that the true proportion of the population is less than some value stated in the problem, greater than that value, or just not equal to that value. For our problem, we are testing to see whether the true proportion P of students tutored by Base Tutors whose grades improved is actually greater than 0.92. Then our null hypothesis is always just the opposite of this. This makes our null hypothesis, H sub O, P is less than or equal to 0.92. Alright, before we go any further, I always like to draw a picture of the distribution matching our problem to help me visualize it. Since we're doing a z-test, we're going to use a normal distribution. So let's draw that. Alright, cool. But what are we going to add to this diagram? As I mentioned in my earlier video, you want to draw your distribution assuming the proposed population proportion from the problem is correct. The assumed proportion P is 0.92, so we are going to center our distribution at this value. Okay, that's all we're going to put on our distribution for now, and we'll return to it later. Now that we have our hypotheses and drawing, we next need to check our conditions. For one sample z-test for proportions, there are 3 different conditions that need to be satisfied in order for us to be able to use this test type. Essentially, we're trying to make sure that the data we collected is a good representation of the overall population. The first condition we need to meet is that the data we collect is from a simple random sample of the population, to ensure we picked our data points randomly. The second condition is that n times p and n times 1 minus p are both greater than or equal to 10, where n is your sample size and p is the assumed population proportion. I won't dive too deep into why this is necessary in this video, But ultimately, we need to verify these two things to ensure that we can use a normal distribution to approximate our sampling distribution. And lastly, the third condition we need to meet is that the sample is less than 10% of the entire population size. Again, I won't go too much into detail right now, but the reason we need this to be true is that if our sample was larger than 10% of the population, we wouldn't be able to make a necessary assumption that our samples are independent from one another. I'll discuss the details of these conditions in a later video, but for an intro-level stat course, it's generally only necessary to just make sure these three conditions are satisfied in order to continue with the problem. Going through these for our problem, the question states that the teacher takes a simple random sample, so that checks off the first condition. For the second condition, the sample size n is 250, and the assumed population proportion p is 0.92. So n times p is 230, and n times 1 minus p is 20, which both are greater than 10. Lastly, let's say the company tutors well over 2,500 students, so that the sample size is less than 10% of the population size. Okay, now that our conditions are met, we can move on with the problem and calculate the test statistic and p-value for our sample. As a reminder, the test statistic is just the standardized value associated with our sample data, in our case, the sample proportion. Since this is a one-sample z-test, and we are using a normal distribution, our test statistic is a z-statistic. The formula for z for one-sample z-test for proportions is z equals p hat minus p, all divided by the square root of p times 1 minus p divided by n, where p hat is our sample proportion, p is our assumed population proportion, and n is our sample size. Once we have our z-statistic, we can then find our p-value. The p-value ultimately represents the probability of getting the sample proportion we got if the true population proportion is actually 0.92. To find it, you would use the tables from class or a calculator. For our example, we'll use the tables. Alright, now let's calculate these values for our problem. For our problem, we know that the assumed population proportion is 0.92, and the sample size is 250. The sample proportion, p hat, is the number of students whose grades improved by the total number of students in the sample. For the professor's sample, this was 239 divided by 250, or 0.956. Plugging these into our formula, this means that our test statistic z is 0.956 minus 0.92 divided by the square root of 0.92 times 0.08 divided by 250. Plugging this into our calculator, we get that z equals about 2.10. Now that we have all of this calculated, let's add all of this to our distribution. As I mentioned, our normal distribution is centered at the assumed population proportion of 0.92. However, when we collected data on our sample, we found that the sample proportion of students whose grades improved was 0.956. Let's say that that's somewhere like here on the distribution. It's obviously greater than our assumed population proportion of 0.92, so that gives some evidence for the professor's claim, but this could also just have happened by chance. To know for sure, we need to calculate the probability of getting the sample data we got. To do this, we first standardize our data from proportions of students into z-scores. As a reminder, the normal distribution is always centered at a z-score of 0, so 0.92 would be converted to 0. And then for the z-score for our sample proportion, we just found that to be 2.10. Next, to find the p-value or probability of getting this z-statistic, we can find the area of the distribution from this value to one of the tails. But which tail do we choose? Do we want to find the area to the left or the area to the right of this value? To determine this, we look back to our hypotheses. Since we are trying to test whether the true population proportion is actually greater than 0.92, we would find the area to the right of our test statistic. Now let's use our tables from class to calculate the probability of getting z is greater than 2.10. The table I'm using gives the area to the left of whatever z-score, so in order to get the area to the right, I can do 1 minus the value in the table, since the entire area under the normal distribution is always 1. Looking a bit farther down in this table, we find the table value that is associated with our z of 2.10. To do that, we look in the row for 2.1, coming from the ones and tenths place of our z, and the 0.00 column coming from the hundredths decimal place of our z. This gives that the area to the left of our z of 2.10 is 0.9821. Therefore, the area to the right is 1 minus 0.9821, or 0.0179. This means our p-value for this problem is 0.0179. Now that we have our test statistic and p-value, we can compare these to our critical value or alpha value. As a reminder from my previous video, to make this comparison, you can either compare your test statistic to your critical value or your p-value to your alpha value. Since we have our alpha value given in the problem and we just calculated our p-value, let's compare those two values. It works out the same no matter which way you do it, but we'll just do it this way for now. Okay, to compare our p and alpha values, we just need to determine which one is bigger or smaller. With a p-value of 0.0179 and an alpha value of 0.05, the p-value is less than the alpha value. Okay, great. Now that our comparison is done, we can move on to our last step, conclude. If you remember from our last video, there are only two conclusions you can make for hypothesis testing problems. You can either reject the null hypothesis in favor of the alternative hypothesis, or you can fail to reject the null hypothesis. But when do you make each conclusion? To remember this, I like to keep in mind the saying, if p is low, reject HO. What this means is that if our p-value is low, aka lower than our alpha value, we should reject HO, the null hypothesis. If the p-value is greater than the alpha value, we would fail to reject the null hypothesis. For our example, the p-value of 0.0179 was less than our alpha value of 0.05, so we would reject our null hypothesis. To put this in context of the problem in more official statistics language, we could say at a 5% significance level, we reject the null hypothesis and have sufficient evidence to support the claim that the true proportion of students whose grades improved after starting tutoring is actually greater than 0.92. Okay, that's how you do a one-sample z-test for proportions from start to finish. If any of those steps were confusing, that's completely normal. I'd encourage you to go back and watch each step and really internalize what we did for each of the 5 steps in our process. This is going to be really important as we are going to follow this 5-step process for every single type of hypothesis testing problem we do. First, we create our hypotheses, then check conditions, then calculate our test statistic and p-value, then compare those values to our critical or alpha value, and finally conclude based on our findings. In future videos, I will cover many more examples of this and other hypothesis test types as well. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button to support us making more videos for you. If you didn't, please leave us a comment down below to let us know what we can do better. Thanks again for watching, and remember, you have big dreams. Don't let a class get in the way.